Welcome to hey, shit, God damn it! Welcome to Don't Get Your
Nothing
Hopes
changes.
Up. Jeez.
really bad at
Hashtag
this.
Digihoo.
Mhm.
I was doing fine until you started talking over me.
You really need to practice this.
I'm-
Come on.
I am joined today by Josh Allen, aka Mr. Interrupty Pants, and also say hi.
No.
Okay. And also, we're joined by Scott Hawks, a buddy of ours, who some of you guys might have some serious flashbacks already, legendary flashbacks. Now we're going to add Scott. It's basically a complete Game Breaker reunion, pretty much. Is Olivia around? Can we get Pocket on this? Maybe Chris Allen? I mean, can we just have everybody on this here?
Hold on, let me see if I can find Orb.
Let's go. That was a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
For us, anyways.
Yeah, he went on to be wildly successful.
Exactly. Scott, how's it going, man?
It's going really well. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic.
What's-
I just saw Batman versus Superman, and I heard you did too.
I did. I was saying just saw it. It went on for so long. It felt like just seeing it is too limited a time. I saw it over a large period of time. Is how it.
You saw it over a large period of time.
Yes, that's how it felt anyway. Yeah.
It did. It felt like and we're going to keep this as spoiler free as we can, except for trailer stuff, because I felt like the trailers did get enough across.
The trailer tells you everything you need to know.
Yes, it does. There really wasn't any real twists. There were no real surprises.
There are twists, but if you've seen the trailer and read any comic books, they're not really twists.
There you
anymore.
go. Yeah, exactly. It's
Superman is allergic to kryptonite. Ooh.
what? The pacing of the movie overall. So first off, I liked it. I grew up on. I was always a movie or show superhero nerd up until recently. Like I didn't watch Daredevil, which apparently makes me like it nullifies everything I've ever done.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But everything from the Incredible Hulk to Greatest American Hero to the Superman movies to the classic Batman movies, right? So I watched them all growing up, and so I got to see all the different Batman suits, all the different Alfreds, all the different Lex Luthors, and I feel like this is probably. I think Ben Affleck is like the best Batman so far.
I'll
the
say
best
what he
Batman,
is.
maybe not Bruce Wayne, but go ahead.
What I'll say is he's the best physical representation of Batman on the screen. When he kicks ass, he kicks ass, and you actually see him doing it instead of sticking a camera like up his nostril then shaking it around a lot, as happens in many other films. But no, like you believe this guy is one of the best fighters on the planet when he starts beating the living piss out of everybody, which is great. Yeah, the sort of the Bruce Wayne side of it, maybe not so much. That don't really emphasize the differences between him with a mask on and the mask off a lot, really.
Right.
Which is probably why it doesn't feel as individual. But no, I mean, he's probably the strongest thing in the film.
Yes, I 100% agree. I definitely, I feel like they gave us like the whole James Bond treatment, man. Like we got all the gadgets, we got all like if you want to see like everything that represents Batman in terms of gadgetry and just vehicles and shit. Like the only thing they didn't have was like a bat yacht. Like, and it's like they had everything else, man.
The Bat Catamaran, that was fantastic. The Batamaran. So no, what I'd say is the thing that I was most perturbed by with the clips in the trailer was, oh look, he's pulling a gun out, because that's very Batman. But then actually in the movie, watching through it, those moments in the trailer, they're not as sort of offensive character-wise as it appears, shall we say.
Yeah.
But the only problem is there's other stuff that's way worse when it comes down to his whole, oh no, him and guns are not going to happen. And then you'll have a dream sequence out of nowhere that you're going, why is this happening? Where did this come from?
I had a weird like DCUO launch trailer like flashback there for a
Yeah.
moment. I was like, "Whoa, wait, what's happening?" Okay, I have to write this down. You know,
Yeah, he starts dreaming while awake, and then he wakes up after dreaming.
it's
And
pretty. Yeah, there's it. What's funny? There's a lot of hallucinations
yes,
and dreaming
on
in
both
this. Oh,
parts.
yeah, like everybody
Yeah.
is just like on something.
Everybody's taken some interesting stuff, and I don't know why. It's the baffling thing to me. This is my quick thing. I think there's so much stuff that really works in this film, but it's there's a really simple, straightforward comic book plot that's been buried under this need to be sort of pontificating and sort of nuanced and deep and thoughts about God and all the rest of it, which at times are just like, why are you doing this? I don't want to see this. Can we get back to the characters we know you're trying to build?
Hmm.
But instead, we're going off on these weird tangents. It was odd. It was there's such a clean, crisp film buried in there, but it feels like it was edited with a machete.
Yes,
That
it
it was
it's
shredded. It wasn't edited. It was there is obviously tons more, and it's already been said. There's like an extra half an hour of movie on the special edition Blu-ray coming,
wow.
and it's really obvious that's the case because it feels like there was tons of stuff cut out. Because you're like, what? Okay, there's a scene that set this up that isn't here anymore. It there's lots of that. That's how it felt to me anyway.
It did. Yeah, the pacing. I definitely have issues with pacing. It's not like Matrix Reloaded bad, but it's definitely got issues of its own for sure.
Yeah, it's
Very jarring how things just like shift gears.
yeah. There's the first 2 hours. The first 2 hours. The first 2 hours. It's interesting just how much stuff gets thrown at you, and I don't like having my hand held, but I don't like having my hand grabbed and punched in my own face a lot. Um, which kept feeling like it was happening. It was like, okay, there's two very simple, very sort of straight takes on these characters that you're trying to make into something that is a
Into an
sort of
epic.
like into an epic and into a let's talk about the meaning of God. Let's talk about the meaning of humanity in relation to God, and let's throw in some of the
The false idols.
we're not alone in the universe anymore, and let's throw in some of that too. And then and it's like, oh my God, can you just focus on that bit? The
Yeah.
bit that we know you're going to do, but you're trying to pretend that this isn't a comic book movie right now.
Mhm.
Um, at times it really felt like it was a case of someone feeling a bit embarrassed that they were kind of doing a comic book movie and needing to throw piles of other stuff on top of it. So yeah, it was interesting.
Lore.
Huh? What?
What's up, dude?
I'm just playing Clash of Clans while you
Okay.
guys.
No. Do you have plans to see this movie?
No, not really.
Not really.
I don't even see movies that I plan to see. So I
Okay.
haven't seen Deadpool yet, and that was one that I was like, yeah, I gotta go see Deadpool, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
I know the
Um,
feeling because I have a kid that it's like an anchor. So
yeah,
D-
yeah,
Deadpool is tons of fun.
yeah, that's a good one
yeah.
too.
I've heard it's really good, so I keep being like, yeah, I should go see it, and I haven't. Um, but yeah, no, my exposure to this particular movie thus far has been I went to Polygon 3 minutes before the show, as I usually do, in order to get content for the show. Uh, and God damn it,
Nothing's changed.
No, nothing's changed.
I lost my match.
Oh,
Um,
negative review coming in.
yeah, negative review. What was it? Oh no, I went to Polygon like 3 minutes before we started the show, and I was like, okay, what can I drop in here that we can then talk about? And like three of the top five articles that they put at the top were things like, don't go see Batman versus Superman, and you don't have to see Batman versus Superman and stuff. So I was like,
I do.
sounds like it's not a great movie.
I think there's a severe backlash going on. To be honest, I don't think it's as bad a film taken in isolation. That it's been the way it's been responded to. I think it is not a good film. But I also think there's a lot of pent up anger over Man of Steel that's been waiting to be unleashed for quite some time.
When you think about it, like 20, 30 years ago, like something like Superman 2 can come out and everyone's like, yeah, it's Superman. I like Superman. I read the comics. It's great. There's a Superman movie. That's awesome. It's not the best movie ever, but whatever. It's Superman. It's great. And then Marvel started making movies.
Yep.
And now everyone's expectations of superhero movies are the Avengers and that sort of thing. So the Iron Man series. And so when a shitty Superman movie comes out nowadays, people are pissed. They're like, I thought I liked Superman. I thought I liked superhero movies. I really, really liked the Guardians of the Galaxy. I really liked the Captain America movies. What are you doing to me, superheroes? Sort of thing.
I feel like part of the blame for probably Man of Steel and maybe I think Zack Snyder should shoulder some of the blame. Because
more than a little.
Marvel knows how to add humor to their serious bits. They know how to do that. Yes. I feel like Zack Snyder just like he makes it. I mean, it's like especially like Man of Steel. Like it's gray. Like there is no humor, no pop, nothing.
Everybody likes a blue filter, apparently.
Oh,
it's. I mean, the definition of monotony is one tone. So you know, what I think is what Marvel have learned to do is they take the character and then they do that character and they are in no way embarrassed by it. They just go, right, if we're doing this character, it's going to be this character, and we're going to do it to the nines down to its balls.
This is literally a raccoon with a rocket launcher.
Yes. We are that is going to be the best one-phrase talking tree you've ever seen. And we are in no way ashamed of it. Whereas with the Man of Steel, I think the reason people got annoyed was partly because it felt they were trying to go for a tone that didn't fit that character at all, and instead we're going for something to say, "Hey, look, we can be mature, we can be serious." And it's like you can do that, and it still be the same character. You don't have to start having, Pa Kent talking about, well, maybe you should just let that bus full of school kids drown, because hey. Then people might know who you are, and that should be bad. But one day when you decide you're going to change the world, but just don't tell anybody about it. It was just confusing. I mean, I get the whole, taking it from a serious, hey, what would it be like if you were an alien in the current sort of the way the world is? I get that. But do that in a film that isn't about Superman, who's a bright blue guy who flies around and like saves people. Because that's not what he's about. Mark Waid said something about the thing about Superman. He's somebody you're supposed to aspire to, and what you do is you raise him higher. You don't bring him down to us in a movie, because if you do that, then he's just some guy who happens to fly around a lot, and we've seen tons of that shit over the last few years.
That's true. Yeah, his personality is written very robotic and just binary. I mean, actually, not even binary. He's just hero and just stoic and like occasionally sad.
I honestly don't even think he's kind of that. Is the trouble is he's just a bloke. He's just a bloke. He's not. I mean. In Man of Steel, the thing, I mean, to me, in the Age of Ultron, as much as that film's got its problems, like Age of Ultron, the scene where Iron Man's in the Hulk Buster fighting Hulk is to me a absolute response to the Superman versus Zod battle, which is Tony spends the entire part of it desperately trying to get Hulk out of that city and saving people while they're fighting, and then you look at Man of Steel and go, this is the ultimate good guy. The guy in Superman 2 who's like, brought to his knees because they're going to throw a bus with 20 people on it,
Yes, yeah.
And instead he's punching the shit out of people through buildings, wrecking the entire place. There's a hilarious bit where, this isn't a spoiler, but there's a hilarious bit where somebody's on of course we're going our exposition through a news team on a screen, and somebody says, well, it's a good job that it was late at night because hardly anybody's in the area this time tonight.
So many times you're bringing him back to the city. It's like, don't worry, there's nobody here. Like there was so many times they were just like, hey,
that was probably probably, by the way, the dumbest Batman move ever. Not since Batman running across a pier trying to find somewhere to throw a bomb and can't because there were ducks there. Have you seen
That's going back.
Batman go, hey, the thing I've got that can defeat this guy is in the city. I'm in a plane. I could fly there and get it, or I could lure the apocalyptic villain into the center of the city to go get it.
Hold on. Yeah. We're trying to. There's a thin line here. We got to be careful.
Sorry.
But yes,
yeah.
Basically, if you have a faster mode of transportation to do something, then you take it. I'm not going to walk to San Francisco. I'm probably going to take BART at a minimum.
Yeah. I'm also not going to be dragging the nuke along with me to go and find the key to defuse the nuke.
Right.
If that nuke, it's weird. It's just there are some things that I think work so well. There are some things I'm like, hey, I'm feeling this because I owned the issue that this is taken from. And then there's other bits where I'm like, did that really just happen? Like there were times literally my jaw was swinging in the wind, and there wasn't even any wind. So it was just, it was odd. But I said I can see one of those fan edited versions of that film being really quite enjoyable.
Right.
But yeah, lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Really, really odd.
Yeah. There was a couple moments where I felt like, oh, that there's a gag right there, but it didn't happen. If it was anybody else running the show, or if it was like a Christopher Reeves or something like that. Even Christopher Reeves had dimension. Like he was funny. Like he'd bring in the bad guys and he'd say some funny thing and be like, all right, well, peace, I'm out. And he'd go do his thing. And so yeah, we definitely have a one dimension. I like him as Superman. I really do. I think he looks perfect for the role.
Yes.
I think he plays Clark Kent pretty well. Not overly nerdy. Like I definitely felt Christopher Reeves.
The beautiful thing about Christopher Reeve's portrayal is when he was Clark Kent, he looked like a different guy. He felt himself different. Yeah. That moment when he drops his glasses in the fire in Superman 2. Hey, are we nerds enough yet?
Yeah, well, Superman 2 spoilers, bro.
Yeah. So everybody, if you haven't seen Superman 2, I don't know what's going on with you. So when he drops the glasses in the fire and then he has to admit it's him, when he straightens himself out, it looks like a different guy standing there.
That's
from
true.
His silhouette. It's amazing. Whereas there's moments when he's standing there when Henry Cavill's standing there in the Daily Planet office, like side on, you're like, dude, you're ripped. Even under that. Holy shit. You've spent a long time in the gym. Your personal trainer at the Daily Planet is doing an amazing job. So yeah, it isn't. I think with both Clark and Bruce in the movie, there's not a huge differentiation. Except every now and again, Bruce kind of says, "She's a bit hot," and I've been drinking, don't you know? And that's about it, really. But no, I say there's bits in it that were really well. Batman beating the shit out of people. He's marvelous.
So good, man. So good. Like everybody in the theater, like there's a fight scene that happens with the Batman. It's like one of the first times we really get to see him unleash for like an extended period of time, almost as long on paper you would think this is too long for a fight scene, but no, like it was beautiful, and everyone at the end was like, it was almost like everyone was holding their breath, and they were like, woo, and just like clapping, and it was just like they could have ended the movie right there, and be like, yeah.
The scene's already been released, and I was really quite horrified how much of that scene's already been released in before the movies come out. Mm-hmm. But he hits somebody around the back of the head and makes them face plant at the same time.
Oh, it's so good.
It's beautiful. It's like that's
it's not just
Bruce Wayne who will mess everybody in a room up and look around and look cool doing it.
And he's not just punching and kicking and doing all this stuff. Like he's also incorporating the gadgetry. Yeah. Which I loved. Like
and not in a I don't know. It's not that he's got an answer for everything with whatever he's got. He'll use it. He'll use his grapnel in the way you think, oh yeah, he's going to have done that at some point.
Yeah.
When he's needed to.
He's resourceful.
Yeah, he is, and he's resourceful. He's cunning. He's devious git. Except that he's got the worst excuses for being found in the wrong place ever. I thought the bathroom was down here. I was like, oh no, you didn't just do that one.
Corny.
Oh, God, Is he going to kiss somebody passing by as well, just to make sure that nobody looks at them?
Yeah.
It was great.
So,
No,
so what do you think about Wonder Woman?
I actually thought, other than the fact that she's something that happens on the screen and then vanishes off it,
Yeah.
there is very little point for her being there, other than the Justice League the preview section, which was the bit where it just goes, "These are all the ones that are going to be in the Justice League movie."
Yeah,
Was
they just spoiler free. They hint at a Justice League movie pretty heavily during the movie,
yeah,
like
they don't.
very heavy handedly.
They don't. I don't think they even. It's not just hint at it. They go, "This is the Justice League movie." By the way, here's the cast list, and then and look, here's some pictures of them
It's pretty.
doing
It's
stuff.
it's heavy handed for
It is, but
sure.
when she turns up in the third act, like the this is no spoiler because you've seen most of it, but already in the trailers. But the third act, when she turns up, it's fantastic. I really loved it. Like when she does what she does to get involved, and the way she does it, she looks great. She looks like she'd probably kill the crap out of anything more than Superman would.
Yeah.
Which is the way it's supposed to be. When she takes the first hit from who she's fighting and has got a big smile on her face, like, "This is awesome. I've got somebody I can really, like, unleash on."
Yeah. Yep.
That was perfect.
Yes.
So she's not in it much. What she's in it for is kind of just, you know what's coming next. Look, you've got a picture of the Trinity, because Avengers had that bit where the camera span around.
Oh, of course.
So now we're gonna have the bit where you see the Trinity, like, but just flatter and more straight on. Yeah, I liked her. I'm hoping that the movie actually builds a character there, because right now you don't see anything character wise in the current one. But,
Right. Yeah. You don't get much. You get glimpses, and then you see her fighting. I mean, in terms of like in fighting and whatnot, I think it's great. I'm not sold on her as a character, but but like you said, you don't really get a glimpse of her as a character.
you don't.
yet.
There's barely any character.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
she's such a character that has been done right so few times. I mean, other than the Justice League cartoons, essentially the animated series, like, beyond that, there's not many examples where you go, "Oh, that's the definitive Wonder Woman story." Yeah, so hopefully they'll do a good job with the movie. When the one that's previewed in the one that you get to see if you see Batman vs Superman. But yeah,
Yep. So and then I think the last major character, Lex Luthor, the greatest criminal mind on our planet.
he throw any more ticks into one scene? Like
It was Jesse Eisenberg being himself.
yes,
Like, being his character.
it was.
I mean, I felt like it kind of worked. It was a different Lex Luthor than we've
Was.
seen for sure.
No, it's Silicon Valley Lex Luthor. It's Hooli Lex Luthor.
Wow. Yes. Hooli Lex Luthor.
He is. Which I think is an absolutely fine way to go. It's I'm not sure about the stuff with his father. The sort of setup, they talk about that as being his kind of motivation, because the problem is they kind of give much of Lex Luthor's motivation to Batman.
Yeah.
It's a bit difficult to discern them at times, and again, there's so much of a mess that he's actually involved. Sometimes the plotting is a bit too. They try and make it far more complicated than it has to be, and so his kind of agency in it, Lex Luthor's, gets lost a bit.
That's true. That makes sense.
So because there's a very simple, hey, look at the puppet master here making all this happen, but that gets lost under a ton of other stuff. But he annoyed me at times. At times it made perfect sense. At times it worked really well. But I don't know. It's one of those, actually, if I see it again, and this is how messed up my mind is, there's a good chance I will watch it again. I think his performance is the one that I really can't put my finger on how successful I think it was.
From my perspective, I just feel like it was a different Lex Luthor. Like it wasn't trying to be Gene Hackman. Obviously, it wasn't trying to be Kevin Spacey. Uh,
I mean, I was delighted he wasn't trying to buy land. I'm glad it wasn't another. I'm going to make the biggest. I'm going to be the world's worst realtor.
yeah.
Instead of-
California is gonna just break off and float dollars.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So that was
World's
good.
biggest realtor. I like Gene Hackman, man. Everything he
I
did was fine.
I love Gene Hackman, but it's like you did it in one movie. Don't do it in every movie. Like have him do something else other than try to get land. That, you know.
Yeah.
But no, it's again. It was like it was very much a different take, and that's perfectly fine. I'm really not sure whether that take was that successful or not.
Yeah.
It's the part of the movie that I'm the least kind of sure on.
We're definitely going to see him again, and I think that he'll probably take a lot of they'll probably take a lot of what we like feedback from like the general community and probably work it into his character. You're right, the ticks are a bit much. He was a little bit too Jesse Eisenberg, right? Like it was too Hooli, as you put it, too social network. Um, or actually, no, sorry, not social network in terms of like his inability to be personable at all
Yeah.
and communicate.
He was erratic, but not in a. Let's take something like the modern Sherlock take. He's a genius, and you can see how that comes through in his inability to sort of understand normal human beings because
Yeah.
they're so stupid to him all the time.
Yes.
Whereas most of the ticks that came through with Lex, it didn't feel like it was cohesive in where it was all coming from, other than I don't know, he's been beaten up a lot before. So yeah, some of it was there that felt too much just affectation rather than it was the center of the character.
Right.
But yeah,
So so overall, so you're a comic book guy, right?
I am.
Yeah. So overall, like, do you think that they delivered, or you think? I mean, I don't want you to be, a 10 or a 0 on this. Like,
Mhm. I'm
uh,
not. I'm a. God, it's. I think the problem I have with it is that it's actually not an atrocious film. If it was really awful, it probably would be easy for me to just set aside. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? If it was just absolute crap, then I could go, oh well, it's just crap, and I'll never watch that again. And
Exactly.
but there's enough in it that made me go, oh god, this could have been so much better. There's some of this that's so on point that if you just toned down a bunch of other stuff and cleaned up that plot, and then edited it like you weren't high and like on lots of caffeine,
Just throwing
um,
darts at the editing board.
just going, well, we haven't cut to something that's completely unexpected in 30 seconds, so let's try that. That's how it felt at times, and I mean, I'm being disparaging because and believe me, I know where it's very difficult to get story out there and all the rest of it, but um, it's frustrating. It's a frustrating film to me because there is so much in it that I'm like, oh god, that's exactly what I'd like to see on the screen from this specific story that you're doing a reference to, and then other stuff that was like, what the hell are you doing now? This what? I don't know who I am anymore. Never mind what I'm watching. So yeah, it's a weird one. So a 0 to a 10, it's in the middle,
In the middle, right, right.
which is the worst place you can be for me. Because if you're really bad, I'll probably watch it. I'll enjoy watching something that's
just to
atrocious.
just to refresh that into the spectrum, right?
Well, I think it's mainly because bad films are great because you can sit there and make the film that you wish they'd made as you're watching it. So it's always a
I've
good
done that to
learning.
plenty of video games.
No, when it's completely, that's it. When talking to writers, it's always like, bad films are great for learning writing because you're constantly actually making your own story as you're watching them. Whereas with something that's just middling and kind of mixed up, I think it would be a great film for aspiring editors.
There you go. Yeah,
What?
it'll definitely benefit from an extended cut, director's
I
cut
think
or something.
what it will be is it'll benefit from an extended cut that you then cut a lot of stuff out of to make into a simplified version of that.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you came on. You told us all about this. I didn't want it to be just Mike B gushing about Batman versus Superman, and Lord just goes, "Yep, I haven't seen that. No plans to
Yeah,
see
no,
that."
look, Ben Affleck. But I'm really looking forward to the Ben Affleck Batman movie.
Yes, so am
Whether I'm
I.
looking forward to the various people Justice League movie, I'm not as sure at all. Um, and my interest's peaked for Wonder Woman, hoping they do a good film because they've got a concept that looks like it'll work. But yeah, the Batman stuff was great. After the first hour or two, um, and God,
Hour or two when describing the
hour or
movie.
two, yeah. So yeah, it's sorry, I'm babbling. It's late and I'm crazy. So yeah, it's a
That pretty
really.
much just defines this show.
Yeah, pretty
Oh, that's
much.
good then. It's nice to feel that I'm fitting in once more.
It's
It's very much reminds me of Game Breaker because it's another one where wherever we're doing is about to start. There's no script, and somebody's gone. Let's just talk some shit about this for a while.
Pretty
And
much.
that's pretty much the way it used to go quite often, actually.
Mm.
But no, I'm going to see it again just to sort my own brain out because unfortunately, I kind of have to do those things now. So yeah.
I would go see it again. Totally. Just to get another glimpse of it and just kind of check it
Just
out, see
uh,
if I missed anything. Because there
just
was a
to
lot.
work it
There was a
through.
lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and especially stuff that you go, especially as I said, there's so often that things kind of come out of nowhere at you that you're like, I don't know why I'm here now. Um, the figuring out, I can really see what they were going for, but I just think either editing or just getting a little bit over convoluted,
Yeah,
kind of had issues.
I agree. Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for me coming by and boring the
Yeah.
living crap out of you, Josh.
no, it's
it's
cool. I won a couple of matches in Clash Royale, and I got a golden chest from Arena 4. So
Hey, you
There
can't
you
go
go.
with a golden chest.
yeah, it should be pretty good.
Yep.
All right,
You
Scott. Thank you
cheers,
so much, man.
cheers, fellas. Have a good one.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya.
Oh, Scott, number one.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that he was around because yeah, it would have just been Mike B gushes about BVS for a bit.
Yeah.
Um.
FYI, my Skype is in the process of crashing again. So if I disappear, that's what happened.
Okay. Then yeah, just if that happens.
Hopefully it doesn't happen. Hopefully you can at least wait until we're done.
So, in other news, speaking of Hollywood and
Oh.
comic books,
Oh.
yeah.
Hmm.
By which I mean comic book characters that people sometimes cosplay. By which I mean sometimes those people gender swap certain roles. By which I mean gender identification. Oh, was that good?
Almost.
Fuck.
You're learning. You're learning.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
You're getting there. Yeah.
Disney and Marvel plan on boycotting film production in Georgia over anti-gay bill, which is actually pretty. That's actually not. When I hear about some kind of discriminatory bill or thing that some random state or county's government is planning on enacting or passing or whatever, I don't think where's Disney. Where's
Right,
Disney?
yeah.
We need Disney over here.
Yeah,
at all.
so basically this bill is similar to the one that was passed in Arizona recently, which is it's the new fun legislation topic of
Yes.
if someone identifies as gay, should they be allowed to use the women's restroom or the men's restroom, depending, of course, on their personal preferences. And it's a tough one to unpack for sure, but I mean, generally speaking, the whole purpose, to me at least, the whole purpose of having separate women's and men's restrooms is so that there ain't nobody creeping on you while you're in there, right?
Yeah.
So like, if you don't feel comfortable, like if you're a dude who's into dudes and you don't feel comfortable standing with your thing out next to another dude who's standing there with his thing out, I think that's reasonable. Like, this makes sense. But anyway, not getting into the actual politics of the bill itself. Basically, what's now happened is Disney and Marvel and the Motion Picture Association of America, and various other, I guess now AMC has joined in on this as well. So Georgia, over the past several years, has really sort of turned itself into kind of where TV is made. It's Hollywood but cheaper, more or less. And a lot of that has been through sort of like government subsidizing. It's a lot of they're trying to sort of revitalize the state in terms of modern industry and so on. Like, it's actually been a really, really smart overall play by Georgia. And you see a lot of things like, I remember watching Archer, the first time I was watching Archer, and I finished an episode and it goes, "Made in Georgia." I'm like, the fuck? Georgia? Like, they make funny funny TV shows now? Like, this goes against every single stereotype I've ever thought about Georgia. And so now what's happened is Disney and Marvel and these other people have said, okay, you know what, Georgia, if you pass this bill, we're just not going to do that anymore, and you're going to lose millions of dollars of industry.
Yep.
And that's a big deal. And it's like, I'm fairly confident that this kills that bill.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I first off, I'm pretty sure that just general pressure against this, because it is a discriminatory bill, would be enough to do it. But this is just basically like, you're not.
You say that, but then Arizona passed one.
Yeah. So. God, Arizona's such a weird. They don't even have daylight savings there. They're just such a weird like state. They just kind of do their own thing.
That's actually, you just said that, and it occurred to me that it wasn't Indiana. Yeah, Indiana was the state that passed the
Freedom of Religion
Act.
Yeah.
They also don't have daylight savings. I think we found a correlation here.
There it is. There it is right there. Wow.
It used to drive me nuts because I used to, like, I was living in Michigan but going to school in Indiana. I was going to a technical institute in Indiana, and it used to drive me nuts because my time would change, but theirs wouldn't, and I'd have to figure out like what the fuck that actually meant for like when I need to leave and when I need to get there and stuff.
You know what? That's so funny. My dad and my brothers and that whole side of my family live in Indiana, and I did not know that. But now it makes sense. I just thought they just never could remember the time difference between us.
Yeah, I think I think it's just a section of Indiana.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
well, maybe, I mean, we are on the internet right now.
Yeah.
But
it was like the northeast section of Indiana that didn't have it or something. Maybe they've changed it since then. This would have been Jesus Christ. How the fuck old am I? This would have been
How the fuck old am I?
13 years ago. So
Central Time and Eastern Time, but it's divided up.
Oh, maybe that's what
I don't even.
Whatever.
You know what? Hey, we can just make up our own narrative here, dude. No one's gonna fact check us.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, they don't have daylight savings or dogs. There's no dogs.
There are no dogs in Indiana.
Yeah, specifically the greater Fort Wayne area.
Yeah, which is that. I mean, I thought it was weird in The Last Crusade when Sean Connery said that, the name of the dog is Indiana. And I was like, oh, that's weird because no dogs in Indiana. See, so that always bothered me for some reason. So there you go. So anyway, so yeah, this is go Disney. I'm just trying to bury it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go Disney and Marvel
seriously.
and the MPAA and everybody for coming down on it. Obviously, legislation like this does get by, which sucks, but eventually it gets overruled. Like, there's gonna be people in these pockets of America that just they have their set ways and that's it. It's not gonna change. But they will eventually either come to terms on their own, or the state will overturn it for them.
Yeah. Well, and like time as well. Like, eventually all of the crusty old people die out. and then the new crusty old people, who were the young people at the time, enact the legislation that makes sense to them, or they get rid of the laws that don't make sense to them at that time.
Right.
Basically, it works out that the law is usually, at least in America, probably about... Wow, excuse me. Suddenly I have every single burp. It's usually about 30 or 40 years behind what the, 20 and 30-somethings feel it should be.
Yeah, well, because the 20 and 30 systems don't vote. So by the time they're old enough to actually put these laws in and vote for them, that's when the things actually change. Yep.
Thanks a lot, assholes.
Yep.
Yeah. And, don't get me wrong, there's certainly a lot of, discrimination, obviously, always bad. I think there's a lot of weird, extra fringe things that need to be thought about with stuff like this. Like, the idea of if I'm a creeper that just wants to be around chicks taking a leak, I can just tell everyone I'm gay and go in there. There needs to be some sort of method for actually, policing this sort of thing, which isn't, excuse me, sir, would you please mind putting your penis into this dude?
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is for that. I really don't.
It's messy is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's on one hand, it's well, just have one bathroom. Just have one.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It would save you so much space,
the solve.
And just have one bathroom, you'll be fine. But there's also a part of me that I grew up having girls don't go in the boys' bathrooms, boys and girls. I grew up that way, and I have to check that sometimes because it's ingrained. It's there, But I understand. It's if I'm in the bathroom, I was thinking about it. It's if I'm in the bathroom and a girl walks in because however she identifies, or her sexuality or whatever, is that going to affect me taking a poop? It's really, really taking a poop, right? It. In that instance, it just depends, and it's the same. It actually wouldn't matter if it's a dude or a guy or whatever. It actually doesn't depend on that at all. It depends on how loud the music is inside of that bathroom, or how loud the fan is, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Am I the one with this issue? I am, aren't I?
This drives me nuts all the time. The bathrooms. So here's my constant dilemma. By the way, I just want to make a note, real quick before I forget. Obviously, we've been saying someone who's gay. Obviously, this also the primary person that's affected by this is going to be the transgender person who was born a certain way and then has changed their mind about that and wants to identify as something else.
Right.
Okay. Getting that out of the way just to clarify and make sure that we're all on the same page here. Let me talk about my butt now. So here's my dilemma. My desk is on the 3rd floor of what we call Building 1 at Blizzard Entertainment.
Right.
It's the main building. It's I say the main building. We have 12 buildings now, so it's hard to call any of them the main building. But anyway, it is it's the big one. It's only a 3-story building, so I'm on the top floor. It's the same floor that all of the executives are on. So every once in a while, if I accidentally have a little too much lactose at lunch or whatever, and I go, oh God, okay, it's going to be one of those days, and I head off to the bathroom, I will do terrible things in that stall, walk out, and Mike Morheim is waiting for the stall that I was just in. And so every single day, I'm like, can we please just play some music loudly in here or something so Mike doesn't have to listen to my ass make the most horrendous, cult level noises while this is actually happening?
Jesus Christ.
It's the worst.
Yes,
it's
fans and loud music. I don't care what the music is. I'm not going to complain about the music in the bathroom.
And it turns out Blizzard Entertainment has a lot of really good music from our games, so we could just play that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Do you know how epic my shits would be if the play of the game music was playing while I was doing it? Like ba 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 ba, and I was like. bathroom, and all of a sudden, like, bum, bum, bum. You know what? I'm starting a petition. I'm gonna email Mike Moore tomorrow.
No one's gonna disagree with it.
Yeah.
No one's gonna say that's not a good idea. Nah, we don't need it. We need to be pristine, crystal clear silence, pin drop silence. No one's gonna say that. Nobody.
I should actually just email Mike, because he has a very like open policy. Like, if you ever want anything, email me. So I'm gonna email him and just be like, we should really play music in our bathrooms. It's super awkward when I'm at work and my coworkers can listen to me doing anything. P.S. Sorry about the other day.
All right. Okay. So please follow up. Please follow up with that story later on. I'd appreciate it.
Okay, we'll do.
Where do we go from here?
So,
Speaking of, well, go ahead. You go.
So, speaking of taking a shit, by which I mean, speaking of removing waste from one's body, by which I mean, speaking of the worst thing human beings can produce, by which I mean, speaking of shit YouTube content, did you see this article from That Dragon Cancer about Let's Plays?
Yes. Wow. Once again, you catch me at the last minute. So, can it be this? Was it Professor Plum in the den with the... Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, this is a really, really interesting... I read this earlier, and I was like, it's something I've thought about from time to time, and I was thinking about it a lot recently with Firewatch. Basically, the idea of so for certain types of games, you can watch someone play it, and then you want to go play it afterwards. In fact, I would say for most games, you watch someone play it, and then you want to play it afterwards. Or at the very least, you will probably want to play it afterwards. If you enjoyed watching someone play something, then you will probably want to play it afterwards. I watched you play Don't Starve a bajillion times, and I purchased Don't Starve and played it for 3 minutes before I went back to just watching you play Don't Starve. That's the general gist and the sort of case for Let's Plays as a marketing, not strategy, but like the marketing value for the Let's Plays, let's say. Other types of games, like That Dragon Cancer, but also like Firewatch, like Gone Home. These are the sorts of games that if you watch someone play it, there is sometimes very little point in you then playing it yourself. So like Liv got Firewatch. She was playing Firewatch. And I was interested. I was invested in the story that was going on. I thought it was a really, really great game. And if you have not played it, you absolutely should. Mm-hmm. But as I watched her play through it, like she played through the whole thing, got to the end, finished it, credits, whole thing. I went and looked up. I was like, hey, are there alternate endings to Firewatch? And they're not really. There's one tiny minor little thing, which I won't say because it'll spoil it. But it's the same. To put it into an analogy, I guess, to explain it differently, it would be like if you got to the end of Mass Effect 3, for example, and you had the choice between does Shepard relax afterwards with iced tea or Dr. Pepper? Like that's the sort of level of right. difference between the two potential endings. It does not matter at all. And most people don't even know the other ending exists because actually getting the other ending requires you to do something really fucking stupid. Mm-hmm. So anyway, moving on from that. No real alternate ending to Firewatch. So I was like, okay.
So yeah,
I actually just don't feel like I should play this now. I kind of feel like I've now gotten everything out of this. And I am positive that a lot of other, like Firewatch on Twitch, the first day that Firewatch came out was like the third or fourth top game for this little sort of indie studio game. Like was really, really high up there. Next day, gone. No one was streaming it anymore. And I really feel like in that sort of situation, this is definitely one of those situations of, I watched someone else play this game, so now I don't want to play it. I've seen everything that there is to it. And so that's kind of what this article from Ryan Green, who worked on That Dragon Cancer, is kind of talking about here, is people are making Let's Plays of his game, and then the end result is they have not made a single dollar off of That Dragon Cancer.
Yep.
Because obviously you can't blame the entire thing on Let's Plays. Like it would be I would be very interested to see the reasoning that would lead to a situation, and you said, yeah, fucking Let's Plays. That's the reason that Dragon Cancer is not at the top of everyone's to purchase list. Like I would be surprised if that was actually the case.
But if a Let's Play has 145,000 views, you have to look at that as a developer and say, you know what, that's lost revenue.
Yeah, of that obviously not all 145,000 people would have purchased it, but if 10 would have purchased it, that's more money that they didn't get.
Yep.
And when you're in the state of, like, we aren't making money off of this game, 10 purchases is a pretty big deal. So I see that angle of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, how do you resolve this? Do you say, hey, everybody, don't make Let's Plays of my game? Do you, like, just start issuing takedowns and, like, content ID strikes on YouTube and say, no, you're not allowed to do this? Because that, it's almost irrelevant of if that's actually the right thing to do or not, because no matter what, if you start doing that, people are going to freak out. It's going to be like every
you're gonna
single
be the bad
time
guy.
Sega does that. Yeah, no matter what, you are the bad guy in that situation. So does this mean? And I think it would be unfair in this situation. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling here, but I think it would be unfair in this situation as well to say, well, then they should invent some reason for you to play this game yourself, because, like, there is a reason for you to play it yourself, because it's more immersive when you're the one actually making the choices. There's different things firing off in your brain when you make the choice to tell, like in Firewatch, you make the choice to pick this voice line over picking that voice line. And even if at the end of it, doesn't really matter, it all leads to the same thing at the end. The journey along the way is slightly different as a result of that. So it's, it's an interesting sort of situation where you're now saying that the value of experiencing it for yourself isn't enough to actually push someone into purchasing the game.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I kind of got lost in my own head there.
No. So the actual blog that he posted, the focus, so he does talk about Let's Plays in general. But what spurred this discussion in this blog post was actually the music element of it. So let's just remind me after we get done talking about this. The music side of it's pretty important too, I think. So the Let's Plays, it's hard, right? Because it's like it's covered under fair use. If you say I can't do a Let's Play, then you're an asshole because you're trying to keep us from making content and promote your game. What a jerk! And the person that made that game was like one dude.
Yeah.
And That Dragon Cancer, that's a tough one. Like, that is a tough. I will never play that game, and not because it's bad or whatever, but because of the game is about he lost his kid to cancer, and so it's about their journey through that. And nope. So the but other games that are very like story driven, like Firewatch, like Gone Home. There's so many games that are just like straight story and very linear, and you know what, sometimes I find myself as a viewer, it's like, man, I just want to go and watch somebody play through a game without talking. Like sometimes I try to go and watch somebody play a game and I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like, I just don't want to hear you talking, and I know that you can't do that because of fair use. You have to just commentary on all that stuff, whatever. But like, there's a market there. Like, I would pay, if a game costs $50, but I could watch somebody else shut the fuck up and play it really well for $15, I might watch that, right? I might play that. I think that's the thing that's probably going to happen at some point. There's got to be a way to market this, Let's Plays, in a way that supports the creator.
Like maybe a sort of like license sort of thing. Like you can make Let's Plays, but we have to take a part of your, like, if your Let's Play is literally just I'm playing through the game and I'm not saying anything, which a lot of Let's Plays are nowadays, because for some reason or another people think that's the best way to do things.
That might be like good.
Yeah, like the sort of, like, if all you're going to do is play through our game, honestly, it would be well within rights. There would be a lot of legal documentation to write up, but thanks to the magic of the DMCA, it would actually be completely possible, I think. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but I think it would be possible for a game developer to say, okay, if you're going to make a Let's Play of our game, we think that the marketing value of you having done a Let's Play is less than the damage to our profits because someone has decided to watch your Let's Play instead of purchasing our game. So if you do make this, you need to sign an agreement with us that says that you will hand over
the overhead,
some percentage of your, there's tons of overhead to it. But maybe there's a way to make something like that work.
So
I'm not sure.
I think you nailed it, license, but it's something that would have to be automated. And as somebody who, I look at YouTube as a form of, of income for me right now. It's tough to say this, but I think it could work. Who controls, the MPAA for movies, RAA, right? For record industry. We have the ESA. There could be other associations. Obviously, there's like fees and stuff to get into this, and every random dev is not going to be expected to get in it. But there are services, and this kind of ties into the music thing too. So there are ways for me as an independent musician to be able to license my music so that whenever somebody uploads a video on YouTube, I will basically get credit for that, right? So all the ads, everything that plays on that video, I'll get credit for it. So that exists for music. YouTube has a content ID thing that they could do, but I think it's a little bit more difficult for the average user to get involved with. If there was a way to make it so that it wasn't such a binary 100 or 0 split, whereas I could say, hey, I'm the indie dev, right? I could go to some service that basically does content ID stuff on YouTube, and all it will do is it plays an ad. I get a percentage of that put to myself. I'm licensing it basically, and in a very broad license. You could do whatever you want with the footage, but if it matches my content ID, then I, as the developer, am awarded 15% or 20%. I think that's perfectly fair, and I think anybody that would say, I think anyone that would say otherwise would actually be an asshole, because you, which would be me, as somebody who makes video content, I am making a profit off of something that somebody else made. Sure, I'm adding my own commentary. Sure, I'm putting in editing. Yeah, I'm doing all this work. Yeah, of course. But if that game wasn't there to begin with, then I would not have made any money off of it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that I think there's a lot of conversations that we'll start seeing happening, maybe not for a while still, but in the next, I don't know, I'll say 10 years. We'll start seeing a lot more of looking into this. A big part of it is game companies are really, and it's not just gaming companies, it's many industries, are really just now starting to understand both the idea and value and usefulness of what we tend to call influencers, which is YouTubers. Influencers is a shitty word for it, but like YouTubers, streamers, social media personalities, etc. Like people who have some sort of sway and have an audience in the community, but are not like press sites or news organizations and so on. Mm-hmm. And it's something that a lot of game development companies are really just starting to be able to wrap their heads around. And those of us that are actually starting to think about these things are still relatively few. So I think it's the sort of thing where eventually what people, and this seems obvious, but people really aren't thinking about this right now. When you're making a game, you have to start thinking about, how is this going to be on YouTube? Yeah. When someone watches the Let's Play of my game, what's the result going to be? And it's clear that for that Dragon Cancer, the Let's Play experience has really kind of caught them off guard. It's not something that maybe it's something they were kind of expecting and they were kind of worried about, but it's clearly bothering them regardless of what it is. So again, I'm not, because at the same time, I don't want to say that the immersive experience style of game should just go away and there should always be some sort of unlockable or something that you have to earn, or there needs to be 7 different endings to your, like, the whole point of something like that Dragon Cancer is that cancer kills people and it's a bad thing. Like, that's the entire point of this game, is showing, like, putting the player through the experience of a struggle with cancer.
Yeah.
That there's one ending to that story. Like, you can't say, oh, and in this ending, space aliens show up and they cure cancer and the entire, no, that doesn't happen. There's no, the whole point of this is that there aren't other endings. The whole point is you can't use some bubblegum with some tape and solve cancer. Like, that's the whole purpose.
Right.
So in terms of replayability, or even if it's like I watched my friend play this and now I have to play it myself to experience the exact same thing and walk through the exact same thing again. It's always going to be a hard sell. And honestly, maybe in those situations, like I know I said earlier that it's going to make them look like the bad guy, but maybe in those situations, the game developer needs to just step up and say, no, sorry, our game is the experience. If you're going to share that experience with someone else, like you're
basically taking away revenue.
Yeah, exactly. There's a point in which you can say that our game is a mildly interactive story that's being told. And if you are just taking that interactive, you're just clicking the buttons when they appear, basically, and putting that directly up on YouTube, I think there's a lot of parallels to be drawn there with, I watched a movie and I put that movie up on YouTube. Like, these games are basically interactive movies, and you're not allowed to put the Avengers up on YouTube, so maybe you shouldn't be allowed to put that Dragon Cancer up on YouTube.
Yeah. I think it's perfectly fair that a developer comes out and says, we will not allow Let's Plays, but we will allow reviews and edited footage and all that stuff. So if you have a highlight, or if you have, an edited review of it, then that's fine. But a straight playthrough beginning to end, no. I think that's perfectly fair. I think that's totally fair.
Yeah, and I absolutely think it should be something that's not left up to, like, the law to interpret. Like, no, now Let's Plays are illegal or anything like that. It should 100% be up to a gaming company whether or not they want to issue content ID strikes against this sort of thing. But maybe that's just what should happen, honestly.
Someone's gonna do it. And hopefully I remember this conversation so that I don't, like, become a hypocrite. And just like knee-jerk reaction. This guy's an asshole. It's like, well, hold on a second. Wait, let me think about it for a second.
Yeah. Well, I think posts like this one that Ryan Green made are the sort of thing that it's just making people think about that. Like, the tweets that he links at the start of it is basically someone saying, are you guys planning on releasing copyright claims for John's music? P.S. Don't forget that you wanted to talk about the music side of things. Are you guys planning on releasing copyright claims for John's music in your game or on our YouTube videos? Or do I need to take my videos down? Sucks having someone else making revenue off my videos.
Whoa, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and he even says in the article, like, so yes, Let's Play person, I agree with you. It does suck to have someone else making revenue off of your work. And I think that's the sort of thing that Let's Players just don't even realize. Like 90% of Let's Players, obviously there's people like, like Jesse Cox or like you, or like I even did a bunch in the past where like this is someone who's doing a Let's Play but is kind of trying to make a business out of this and is trying to put thought into what that actually means. Like there's those of us that we want to be on good terms with developers, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's also people who are 16 and like this video game and like PewDiePie and want to be him. So they're like, I'm going to record a video of myself playing this game and I'm going to put it up on YouTube. And that's the extent of the thought that they put into it. And sometimes those people's channels start to take off.
Yeah.
And they've never put any thought into anything other than I'm going to make videos and put them out on YouTube and get money for it. And I honestly think that a lot of people fall into that camp. And maybe they just aren't even thinking about this. Maybe it's just something that's never occurred to the vast majority of Let's Players of, if I put out this video, am I actually taking money out of the pocket of the people who developed it? It's a tough one, man.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And it's going to take a developer that has like a slam dunk, linear, single ending game to come out and be like, no.
Well, like...
That's it.
Gone Home. I make jokes all the time about how Gone Home is not really a game because it is, to be clear, yes, it is definitely a video game. Yes, there are things that you can do inside of it. It's heavily on the interactive experience side of video gaming, but there's no real like there aren't really choices to make other than did you find all the things. That's about it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
That's the sort of game that I could easily have seen the developers saying, no, we don't want a single Let's Play of this game out there. We're fine if you talk about the game. We're fine if you release clips up to this length about the game. But you cannot do a full Let's Play of this game because that is the game at that point. You're now essentially distributing pirated software because you're just putting the game out on your YouTube channel.
Yep. It's interactive experience, but it's a very linear interactive. Yep. Yeah. And honestly, I feel like developers in every sense, no matter what they're doing, they're creating some form of art. They're creating something, Yeah. And so I don't want these guys to feel like they need to, be limited. Like I don't want them to feel like they can't do what it is they want to do. So I'm one day we'll have a game that's going to be like, it's going to be a slam dunk. Everyone's going to be like, you have to play this game, And they're going to be like, no Let's Plays. And that's the one that we'll have to basically look at and say, okay, these are the guys that are going to lead the charge. Let's try to reinforce it, and we'll have to kind of back them up on that. So hopefully that happens soon.
Yeah, and maybe it is something where we need to just stop defining, like we need to actually come up with a new term for this style of game. And instead of calling it a exploration game or whatever, or a story-based game,
story-driven, whatever.
Yeah, like maybe we just say it's an interactive experience, or we come up with some other catchier word, and we don't call it a game because there's all sorts of extra connotations that go along with that. But we also don't call it a movie. We don't call it a comic book. We don't call it a hat. Like it's its own thing, and maybe we need to define some rules. We need to pray to the great Lord Jesus for some rules on exactly what this should be. Yeah. I guess to be clear, not to harp on this forever. It's a really interesting topic to me because I'm obviously I work for a game developer, but at the same time I work with a lot of YouTubers and streamers as a part of my job.
Yeah.
So obviously I come from a background of being a YouTuber and a streamer. So I very much see both sides of this fence. And I don't want to shit all over the Let's Players either, because for a lot of video games, Let's Plays are actually very, very positive. A Let's Play of Overwatch, for example, is a good thing because now it's people showing other people, hey, this game is really fun, you should play it. Because the way that a game like Overwatch plays is just so fundamentally different.
Yeah, it's very dynamic.
A game like that, exactly.
So, the music side. So I actually have a vlog planned on this because it more of not necessarily a vlog, but more of like kind of a link this to anybody you know who is, doing this wrong. So he says here, he says, we paid John, and this is the same guy talking about making music, because this whole thing spurred from the tweets say, are you guys planning on releasing copyright claims for John's music in your game on our YouTube videos? And this happens to me a lot, and it pisses me off to no end. When I play a game for Indie for Breakfast, which is, it's not a let's play because I don't play it like beginning to end, unless the game is less than 30 minutes, in which case, hey, sometimes that happens. But yeah, it's not a let's play in that sense. But sometimes the music will catch Content ID, and and now I'm not making any revenue off that. And in that case, I'm like, fuck that. And I'm a musician who releases music, right? Like,
right, yeah.
So it's not like I'm being insensitive to it. I understand the process. I completely understand the process. But I feel like if you're composing music for a game, you need to release that shit, like the rights of that to the game developer, and allow it to be, or not the rights to it, but just basically don't try to Content ID that shit on YouTube. Don't do it, because you're going to end up shafting the game developer in the long run. Because if I see, I had a video actually I was going to put up a couple of weeks ago. It was a bullet hell, and the music was licensed, and I fought it, right? I was like, no, it's the music, whatever. And they approved it. So great. So it went through. I would have taken that bitch down. I emailed them. I was like, hey, like, I'm not going to post this thing if it's gonna flag, because it's on my account and it's just the game music. Musicians have the power to do that. When they distribute their music, there's a button they could click that says, do you want to Content ID on YouTube? I've tweeted out a couple times because it's come up when I've done my music for me and for Negative PH, where it's been like, hey, you should make money on YouTube. And it's like, wow, that's how they get you. And that's what these musicians are doing it. They're checking that box. And so they're doing it to themselves, and it's going to come back and bite them in the ass. They just need to not do that and sell the freaking album on Bandcamp, or you could put it on iTunes and Spotify and on Bandcamp. That's what I'm doing. I have it on everything. You can go almost anywhere and find my album, but guess what? If you post it on YouTube, it will not get Content ID flagged. It is completely possible. And that's so seeing that was what spurred this whole thing. I get the concept of like Let's Plays and everything. Yes, we've already had a great discussion on that. I think that's totally relevant. But music, if you write music for games, it is part of that game, and you need to sell that soundtrack separate to make, if you want to make income off of it, or get paid by the developer for making the damn songs, like writing the songs. You could get paid. You get paid by the minute. That's how it works when you compose music. You get paid by the minute.
Yeah, well, and like you have direct experience with this as well, because one of your songs, as well, you and Josh's songs, was in APB, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so like that was a situation where if you had put that song up on YouTube and flagged it as Content ID, now all of a sudden people, and it would have been well within your rights to do so, prior to whatever agreement you ended up having with APB for it. But if you had had that out there with that Content ID flag on it, and then people started uploading their APB, like awesome plays that they did in APB or whatever, and then those videos are now getting flagged for Content ID because that song just happened to be playing while they were aim hacking, because that's what everybody does in APB.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just, I agree. Like I should say that the Content ID system on YouTube also woefully needs an overhaul.
Yes, it does.
It's just broken.
It just needs a percentage-based thing.
Yeah.
It's just what it needs. It can't be all or nothing. It just can't. If one song in a 30-minute video triggers, now Sky Italia is getting all my money, right? Like, that's dumb. Yeah, it just needs a percentage thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a Let's Play ages ago for a game called Yesterday, which, by the way, is an amazing game. And it does have multiple endings, so even if you went and watched my Let's Play, there's still a reason to play the goddamn game. And also, it's just really good. But one of the videos that I uploaded, one of the sections that I uploaded, it got rejected a couple times. And I ended up figuring out that it was because it was one of the very first episodes. It was because a character whistles in a little movie. And that movie was 15 seconds long. Mm-hmm. That was it.
Yeah.
And that was enough to flag the entire video for Content ID.
Yep.
And what they were whistling wasn't even the thing that it was being matched to. Yep. It was just close enough.
Yep. Hey, I said poop once in Don't Starve, and I got flagged from Sky Italia, a network station in Italy. So I know the feels. I fucking said poop. Which means this episode is going to be flagged to death because of all the goddamn poop jokes and bathroom talk.
I talked about my butt for at least 20 minutes.
So long. I'm making no money on this on YouTube. You're welcome, people of Italy.
Specifically the sky of Italy. So yeah. Speaking of that dragon cancer, by which I mean speaking of dragons, by which I mean speaking of medieval fantasy, by which I mean speaking of the normal setting for an MMORPG, by which I mean speaking of MMORPGs, by which I mean speaking of things that sometimes pretend to be MMORPGs, this Destiny update actually sounds pretty good.
That was a bullshit ass.
What?
Nothing. It was bullshit.
What?
That was bullshit.
That was not bullshit.
Anyways.
I mean, everything I say is bullshit, so I guess you're right.
You're right. But... yeah, it's good. It's true. So, Destiny April update.
So, prior to reading this article, again, 5 minutes before we started this show, I was completely like, yeah, I'll log in. I'll do whatever I need to do to get the Taken shader, and that'll be it. Now I'm actually really excited for this Destiny update.
Oh, man. I'm torn.
So I actually really liked Prison of Elders. I thought it was really, really fun. And there's a new high-level Prison of Elders with Taken in it and new gear to get and stuff. So that I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting. I would like to do this. There's also there's a new strike, which is apparently the conclusion of Varix's storyline, which Varix has for a long time been my favorite character in Destiny. And something else. I don't remember what the something else was that I saw in there. I think it was just that there's new gear to get. And honestly, like, I like playing Destiny. I enjoy it. Destiny is a fun game. It's really good. Sometimes there's nothing to do, but once there is stuff to do, I think it's really, really fun. So yeah, I'm interested.
I'm on the fence. Because Taking Shader sounds really great. But Shizzle brought up a good point last night that I didn't realize. He's like, it's not time-based. And I was like, fuck. It means I could go in at any time ever, pretty much, and get the Taken Shader.
Oh, that's the other thing. That actually reminded me. That's the other thing that was interesting about this update, though. You said time-based. There's a new mode for Prison of Elders called Challenge of the Elders, which apparently offers 4 months of varying challenges that won't repeat. So if you want to do all of that, now's when you can do it. Well, as of this update is when you can do it.
A level 42 arena is 320. Oh my god. Yep. And I'm not even, oh Jesus. I just don't know if I could do it. So I missed Prison of Elders because it wasn't a raid. Like,
yeah.
it's funny, in every other game, I'm like, yeah, PvP, PvP. For some reason, Destiny, I'm like, yeah, give me those raids.
Yeah. No, it's because the raids in Destiny are so fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, even when they're bugged to shit, they're still so fucking good.
Yeah.
So Destiny to me, 100,000% is a game that I will play when there's something to do and then immediately drop it. Like, I
That's
killed
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, I killed hard mode Oryx. I think I killed hard mode. I don't actually remember if I ever actually got around to killing hard mode Oryx.
I think you were there.
I think I was. Yeah.
I was dead, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I do remember because I put up a YouTube video that said like first hard mode Oryx kill, and everybody thought that I meant the first one ever, and we're like, no, these other guys killed it like 2 days ago. But yeah, like I killed hard mode Oryx once, and that was it. Has not happened since.
Yeah.
And yeah, the PvP completely in Destiny, the PvP completely does not tickle my fancy whatsoever. And I love first person shooter PvP. I've been playing the shit out of Overwatch. Destiny's PvP is just garbage.
Mayhem is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I could see Mayhem being a lot of fun. I've only played it once or twice. I could see it being a lot of fun, especially as a warlock.
Yeah, Mayhem. Yeah. It's definitely like you're not gonna be running around popping bubbles everywhere. It's definitely a more offensive, but it's a lot of fun because like your ults are always available.
Yeah,
and,
I mean the issue the ults kind of have always been the issue I have with Destiny PvP because I don't like I like it when I die it's because I did something wrong. I died because I stupidly ran out into an area that I was exposed and I didn't properly think to check whether or not it was safe or not, or I died because I didn't aim as well, etc. I died because someone pushed their super and then charged halfway across the map and killed me. That shit drives me nuts.
So I got to counter, man. No.
How the fuck do you counter a blade dancer? Explain to me how the fuck you counter a blade dancer.
Oh, well, actually, that's when you bring out the bubble. That's when you bring out the shoddy and the bubble, and you just fucking here comes a blade dancer, just bloom.
As a warlock, my best chance to counter a blade dancer is to hope that my ultimate, which takes a long ass time to charge, is also up. Also hope that I'm playing Voidwalker, but hope that ultimate is up. And that I just happen to hit the button right as I hear the blade dancer use the little like shing sound or whatever it was, and I just hit the button and hope that it hits them.
Yep, exactly. Strikers, it's funny. Yeah, that's a tough one to counter, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm. Maybe this is gonna be the time when I should go and check out Prison of Elders because I totally skipped that. So maybe I should go check it out. I watched you do it a couple times.
Yeah.
You were streaming it, and it seemed pretty interesting. Like I still don't get it, I guess, but I'd be interested in getting in and probably checking it out a little bit. But if there's anything that requires like excessive, non-raid type farming, I probably won't do it. Like I probably just won't. Like farming raids is completely different from farming something that is more like 5 minutes or so of your time.
Yeah, that's true.
Raid is like you have like this really long-term goal, right? Like you're hoping that by the end of 6 hours you're gonna be completed here, and you're making these milestones. You're passing these milestones for every boss boss encounter. And
there's a finite amount of time that you can spend on the raid, which is like, okay, it's raid night. My raid team is going to be around for 4 hours. And at the end of that 4 hours, I will be done with my raid for the week. Mm-hmm. Like if you're 1 night a week, 4 hour raid group. I'm using a lot of WoW logic here as well. But because in Destiny, often that's all it took to actually farm everything. But which is great. Like I loved that about Destiny, where it was like, all right, we're gonna go clear King's Fall on all 3 of our characters. It'll take about 3 hours. And that I actually thought it was really, really fun. I actually enjoyed farming King's Fall. I obviously didn't do it nearly as much as you guys did because I was jet setting the entire time. But yeah, I am totally on board to like this whole recommended light for Challenge of the Elders. The level 42 arena is 320. I'm totally fine with farming my way up to 320 light, unless I have to go collect a fucking billion fucking spin metal or something.
That's yeah, that's what I don't want.
Yeah.
I feel like, I get what they're doing, right? They want people to come in and play and like farm up to whatever. But I feel like, you know what? I've already done my time. If I knew, and this is where Blizzard woke up and they got it, right? If I knew that I could just load it up and get right into the new content, I would do it. But if I thought, man, I'm going to have to sit there and farm something repetitive for the next, week or whatever just to be viable and then go do it, I probably won't even bother. Like in Blizzard for WoW, it's the fucking, instant level 90 or whatever, right? Like
level 100 now.
Yeah. It's now I know I can just get in and get to the end, and that's
it gives you some decent gear, and you can be in Hellfire Citadel within a week of boosting easy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I feel like Bungie needs to figure out a way to make that happen, because as time, it made sense initially, right? It made sense initially where it's like, okay, you have to keep doing it, especially for raids. You have to have previous raids set in order to actually be competitive here, right? But as time goes on, the game gets older. I want to spend less time in it. I don't want to go back in and hit it hard and spend, 5 days a week farming something because I need to be able to be viable for the next raid cycle. I just want to be able to get in, attempt the raid. If I can't do it, or if, it'll be a struggle for me to do it, or I can do something simple or some menial task that will get me to the point to where I could, do it.
Yeah.
Or just make it part of the fucking TLC. You just like, I don't know, like
yeah. It's like it's actually a really, really important bit of and thought. What's the word I'm looking for? Really important fact of the life cycle of MMO content and multiplayer content like this, especially like cooperative PvE multiplayer content, PvP to an extent as well. But okay, sure. And it's the idea of, at some point, what you're doing in the game transitions from it's kind of like it's like game night with your friend. Like if you play a tabletop, or you have a poker night with some buddies or whatever. Mm-hmm. Maybe the first night you get together with your buddies for poker night. Maybe you say you get a whole bunch of coworkers together, or some people that like, oh yeah, my friend Tim is totally into this, and okay, cool, yeah, and we'll bring Shauna over as well. And like, you don't all really know everybody super well just yet, so you're there primarily because you want to play poker, because you fancy yourself a poker aficionado, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna bring my $20, and I'm gonna walk away with 100. This is gonna be great. And you play, and first night you play, you lose your $20. You're like, okay, well, whatever. So then outside of that time, you're like, okay, now I need to think more about poker, because we're going to do this again next week. I'm going to think more about poker. I'm going to really start putting some thought into poker. And you spend like a ridiculous amount of time outside of your poker night learning more about poker, and spending time learning about like, what are my chances in this situation, et cetera, et cetera. You come back and you're like, okay, yeah, we're going to play poker. And you go on like that for a while. But eventually, you stop doing all of that extra research and whatnot. And now, poker night is just, I'm hanging out with my friends that I play poker with.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of thing that Destiny's raids really, really had at least the opportunity to be. Is, at first, you're like all hardcore about, we're going to kill this boss. It's going to be amazing. We got to work really hard. Make sure you're grinding up your light as much as possible. Make sure you're infusing things as much as possible. Pop your 3 coins, etc., etc., etc. And then eventually you get to the point where you're like, okay, now we're just going to show up this once a week. We're going to kill some stuff, and that's it. But there is so much to the looting system in Destiny and the gearing system in Destiny that then, okay, I got an upgrade. God damn it. Okay. Now I have to burn a bunch of motes. I have to use a bunch of resources to buy all the upgrades. I have to, like, this version dropped, which is worse than the version that it's lower light than the version that I had, but the stat distribution is better, so now I need to infuse this up to what I've got, etc. Like, there's so much extra shit that you have to do to enjoy your poker night with the friends that it ends up being a problem. That's something that I think is a huge part of why... Like, how many months has it been at this point since a new raid came out for World of Warcraft? And so much of the serious raiding community is still there. Like, people tend to look at World of War... I'm gonna shoot myself in the foot here by saying this, but people tend to look at World of Warcraft and say, like, oh my god, I can't believe that like there hasn't been content in this long, and that's why so many people are quitting. And I tend to look at it and go, isn't it kind of amazing that everybody stuck around this long? Like, isn't it kind of awesome that the content is considered so good by the people that are experiencing it, and that it's brought people together in such a way that now they can just sort of have that as, this is our night that we shoot the shit and we just go into Hellfire Citadel, and sure, we're killing the same boss we've already killed 20, 30 times already, but we're having fun with our friends in the process. Yeah. Isn't it kind of awesome that World of Warcraft allows that to happen? And I feel like Destiny doesn't quite allow that to happen.
Yeah, they definitely have an opportunity to make that happen for sure. Like, I mean, all games suffer from this.
Yeah,
you know,
for
it's
sure.
like, and you know, it's funny. One that I think could definitely use a bit of an overhaul is actually Don't Starve. Like, it suffers from the same problem. It's like, you know, the game, to somebody who's just getting in and who hasn't played much, the game was fucking hard. Right? And it takes a lot of work to get in and actually get going. Especially the iOS version. The iOS version is like the most hardcore fucking game I think I've ever played because you're limited so much on the controller, right? Well, that's another story altogether. But I feel like Don't Starve has been out long enough that it can use an easy mode. Right? You know, there's you can have settings like abundance of this, you know, custom make your world or whatever. The person who's coming in new, they want to attract new people, right? They need to put in a mode that's just like, just easy, boom, and maybe it is just a configuration for the world, and that's pretty much it. And maybe a couple other tweaks here and there, but that's all they need to do to make it accessible. And this is something that, you know, maybe I just want to get in and play and just kind of dick off and do whatever in almost a borderline sandbox environment. That would be right, easy mode. That's where I would go. And this is something that, you know, Destiny could totally use. Like, just not easy mode necessarily, but just make it, like you said, easier for me to enjoy poker night. Like, just get in, have fun with my friends. That's the focus. Have fun with my friends, not get in and then hate myself for not knowing how to play the game or being an expert in this game, or, you know, the highest, you know, most efficient character in this game.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Cool.
Oh, I think this is officially the longest show ever, and I think it's because you weren't here for the first 30 minutes.
So I had all this pent up talking to do.
Yes, exactly.
It wasn't. I think we had a 2-hour episode at one point.
When we were at the Dragon Cancer, and you were like an LP thing, and you were like, "Sorry, I'm rambling." I always thinking in my head, was like, "You deserve it. Go do it. I'm just gonna take a sip. Do your things."
All right. Well, all right. I think I'm done talking now.
I'm done talking too. That's
all right, cool.
no, yeah. All right, yeah, I'm done. I'm glad.